In this video, I'm going to compare our programming assignment number 2 to the examples I've done in the lectures. This assignment, check Blackboard for the due dates, but at this point, we've covered all the lecture material that you need to complete this assignment. I recommend getting an early start on it because you have the time, so you might as well make it for an easier summer. First of all, don't forget to fill out the self-grade sheet. I put that at the top even before the instructions, just so you remember, because honestly, I used to have it at the bottom, and when I did that, some people wouldn't even see it, wouldn't turn it in, and therefore wouldn't get the benefit of partial credit. The advantage of the self-grade sheet is that you can get partial credit for items that are partially done. Without the self-grade sheet, score is either a 0 or a 10. Not much opportunity for room in between. So remember to turn that in. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to continue with the program that we've been using so far this semester. We're going to prompt the user for either a C or an F. How can you do this? You could do it a couple ways. You could use the J-option pane show input dialog that we've used already with just a message and some generic input. So let me find an example of that just a moment. So I know I hit it. There we go, just like this, where you just say a message. The disadvantage of that is the user could enter anything, not just a C or an F. Another option you could use is the one that we've been using more frequently in our more recent videos, which is where we come up with a predefined list of options, and then we use the show input dialog with this overloaded method signature where we put in where we give the user a drop-down box with only predefined choices. So either way is fine. Either way will work. Okay, use a while loop and an if test that the user to validate that the user has entered a C or an F. If the user has not entered a C or an F, prompt the user to enter information again. Okay, while loop and an if test. Let's take a look at that. I know we did one in Driver just now. So you remember we refactored this prompt for integer, and here we have a while loop. You could do a test like this, or you could do an infinite while loop. So in other words, if you did the test like this, you might not need an if test. There are several ways that you could do it. You could do an infinite while loop with an if test and a break. So there are a lot of different ways to do it. I'll leave that up to you. But the idea is do some kind of validation, just like we did on this while loop and prompt for integer. Okay, if the user enters C, assume the number is a temperature in degrees Celsius. Convert the value to a double, and then pass the value to the set Celsius method of the converter object. Okay, we sell something very similar up here with gallons of gas. First, we prompt the user. Okay, and what I'm asking for here is a separate prompt, not the C or the F prompt, but a separate prompt that's asking for temperature. So prompt the user for temperature, do a double parse double, and then pass it to what do we call it, the temperature object? Converter object. Okay, pass it to the converter object by using a setter method. So exactly what we've done here, this very same syntax. Okay, if the user enters an F, assume the temperature is a temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. This time, instead of set Celsius, use the set Fahrenheit method. If the user does not enter a temperature, allow the program to proceed and use a default of 35. Okay, so how do we know if the user doesn't enter a temperature? Well, remember, we prompted in an earlier video, we prompted for a user's first name. Let me get to this create a truck. There we go. And we did a little bit of string validation on it. We said if name equals null or name trim is empty, you did not enter a name. Okay, that's a similar thing that you might want to do to see if the user entered a temperature. First, prompt the user for some information using a J-option pane show input dialog. Then compare the return value to null, and then use an or statement to say, or if the name after it's trimmed is empty, then we're going to say you didn't enter a temperature, so I'm going to default the temperature to 35. Okay, so a similar construction like this, but instead of showing something like this where you're prompting for more information, just reassign the temperature variable, whatever you're using, to 35. That's all. Okay, the method should have the following outputs regardless of the temperature entered. Invoke get Fahrenheit and get Celsius. So if the user enters Fahrenheit, or enters an F, I should see the same value in get Fahrenheit that the user typed in. And then get Celsius should be a Celsius equivalent, in other words, a Celsius calculation of the Fahrenheit value. On the other hand, if the user enters a C, then get Celsius should return the number that the user entered, and get Fahrenheit should be a conversion of that Celsius temperature to Fahrenheit. Okay, finally, after the user has entered a temperature and the program has printed output, ask the user if she would like to enter another temperature in another C or F. Use a J option pane to prompt the user. Okay, how did we do this? Well, back in our driver class, you'll see that we used a do while loop. So we have the do up here. Then we have the J option pane show confirm dialog, which is showing a yes or no button. And then we test in the while loop to see whether the user chose yes. If the user chose yes, this test evaluates to true, and we go up and we prompt again. That's a very simple way to do it. Remember, though, that this variable has to be declared before the do for it to be in scope in the while. In other words, you want to do the assignment here where you're doing this J option pane within the loop, but you want to declare the variable up here on line 32 so that it has scope within nearly the entire method, including the while part here. So just be a little bit careful with that. One other thing you want to do is do something extra, something not created here. There's a hint down here, or something not listed here. There's a hint down here to help you remember how to convert to double. All in all, fairly straightforward. A few recommendations. I strongly recommend using the debugger. That is your best friend. That will save you a lot of time. Remember, cannot find symbol typically means that a variable is either misspelled, miscapitalized, does not exist, or is out of scope. Also remember redline. As soon as you see it, fix it. That's the best possible thing that you can do. And of course, remember that I'll guarantee an answer to all questions within 48 hours. So plan this into your schedule. Be sure to plan some adequate time to try out the project and ask me some questions before the project is due. I'm here to help you, and I'm more than happy to help you. I just need you to take the initiative to tell me that you need help, because otherwise I won't know. I'll be happy to answer questions by email. We can meet in person, or we can do a virtual meeting, whatever works best for you and your schedule. So let me know if I can help you, and I look forward to seeing your assignment. Thank you.